All right, let's go ahead and let's get started. As we go through, you can answer any questions, comments in the chats or in that Q&A if you are joining on Zoom. So today I'm really excited to be with you guys. My name is Rachel Taylor. For those of you who haven't met me, I've worked in education for about 4 years. So with working in education for the amount of time I have, I've seen a lot of students fail the NCLEX. And the reason why this topic is so important to me is a lot of times when somebody fails the exam, there's some doubt that comes with it. There's anxiety that comes with it. They maybe don't know what steps to take next. And I find in my position, when we support and encourage and help you through those next steps, your chance of being successful on your next attempt goes up. And so this is why I'm here today. This is what I'm going to talk about the next hour. Now, if you are not a repeat test taker, maybe you're a first-time test taker, you can still hang out with us. We're still going to be talking about things that can be valuable to you. So hang out anyways. You still might get some benefit while we're here. Now, I'm going to acknowledge first, if you're a repeat test taker here today, that this requires dedication and it requires resilience. And each of you have that. Because failing the NCLEX is disheartening, but it's not the end of your journey. It is a setback, but you can overcome that setback. You can turn that setback into a comeback. The NCLEX comes with a lot of challenges, but it also is an opportunity to prove how determined you are to be a nurse. The fact that you're here, the fact that you are giving it another shot, this demonstrates your commitment to becoming a registered nurse. I know that you guys have invested hours into this. You've put in a ton of hard work, and your persistence is so important. That's what's going to help you be successful. So today I really want to talk about how we can really celebrate victories together, how no matter the challenges that you have faced, we can turn those challenges into a comeback and you can find success on your NCLEX exam. Because you're not defined by your failures, you're defined by your resilience and your determination. So let's go ahead and get started. So what to expect? We are going to discuss different reasons for failing. It looks different for everybody. Sometimes we find a reason, sometimes we don't, and that's okay. We're going to do a little mindset reset. And the reason why is mindset is huge. If we have a poor mindset, that can determine a lot of things. So we want to work to reframe our mindset. Then we're going to go through and talk about how you've prepped for previous attempts, go through test anxiety. The reason being is most of the time, people who struggle through passing their NCLEX struggle with test anxiety, not always, but usually. Then we're going to talk about some different study methods, discuss some study plan options, and then assess your readiness for the next attempt. So we have a lot to cover in the next hour. If you know anyone else who's maybe failed the NCLEX, they're trying to pass this exam, feel free to share this to them, tag them in it, because I want to make sure they get this free resource as well. So join me on Slido. We like to use Slido, and let me know where you're joining from. To join Slido, you can either go to slido.com and type in comebacks, or you can scan the QR code and type in comebacks. So join. Let me know, where are you from? I'm in South Dakota. I feel like I rarely have people joining from South Dakota. Michigan, awesome. Arkansas, Florida, Miami, Canada, Kentucky, nice. Amazing, amazing. Maryland, Illinois, the Philippines, amazing. All right, it looks like we've got people from all over the country, several from different parts of the world, which is really cool. Texas, amazing. Glad to have you here. Lots from Florida, lots from Michigan, North Carolina. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get started. We are going to utilize Slido more today. So if you haven't joined yet, go ahead and join. So that way you can easily follow along as we put up those Slido slides. Now, there's lots of reasons for failing, and we can't always pinpoint this. My number one thing is I do not want you to compare your journey to anybody else's. Jennifer's in the chat here with me. What Jennifer's, path looked like to NCLEX success looks different than mine. But guess what? We're both practicing nurses. We're both in education. The journey to get there looks different for every person, and that is okay. Now, one common reason for failing is inadequate prep. I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen students, they say, oh, well, I just graduated, I took a month off, and then I just thought I could go test. I did a few review questions here and there. That is not adequate preparation. My mindset is if you're going to do it, let's make sure you do it right. I want your next attempt to be your last attempt. And guys, I've seen students pass on their first try. I've seen students pass on their 27th try. This looks different for everybody, and that is okay. But let's make sure that you do everything that's in your control to be successful on that exam. Now, the second thing is overthinking. Now, this was me in nursing school. I really struggled with overthinking and self-doubt. Anyone feel like this is a struggle? Overthinking can be hard. We can add to the question. We can start to doubt our own knowledge. And when that happens, our minds can go blank. Now, the third is test anxiety. This was also something I significantly struggled with in nursing school. I'm in my master's program for nursing education right now. And guess what? I still struggle with it when I take exams. So the things that I teach you to do when you're going through test anxiety, I have to implement myself. And when we think about test anxiety, there's a lot of different causes out there. It might be a friend who also just passed the NCLEX and you feel like everybody you know is passing, and then you start to worry, what are they going to think if I don't? It could be an educator where you went to school really pushing because they need those pass rates for their college. Maybe it's the job you've accepted. Hey, if you don't pass this exam, your job offer goes away. Maybe it's family members and they're like, Rachel, come on, didn't you graduate years ago? Why haven't you passed this test yet? Maybe it's yourself. Maybe you have these really high expectations and you're not sure how to work through those. Test anxiety can be from a lot of different causes, but the goal is that we want to let go of those extra pieces of anxiety and we want to remember our why. Why are we wanting to become nurses? Why do we want to be successful on this test? A lot of times it's not for this one specific job. A lot of times it's not for this, one family member. Our whys are bigger than that. Don't let these other people weigh us down. Maybe you've studied, you've spent the time, but your study skills aren't quite where you need them to be. And lastly, you crammed. If you get a product, our product, any product, and you're like, I'm going to study for 2 weeks and pass the exam, I'm going to tell you that's cramming. The NCLEX is more than that. You can't memorize and be successful on the NCLEX. You have to understand. And if you skip the understanding step, it's not going to go as well as you want it to. Now, if you've made some of these mistakes before, or maybe you've struggled with some of these things, they're not always a mistake even, it's okay because we can do better the next time. So do you feel like your previous attempts are weighing you down at all? I want to know in Slido. Join me on Slido, type in comebacks and let me know. Do you feel like the weight of a previous attempt or several attempts is weighing you down at all? I know that when I work with students, I often hear yes. And I've worked with a lot of repeat test takers. Yeah, one of you said definitely feeling more nervous now. Yeah, I've been there 3 times. At times, yes. So what I want us to do is I want us to take the previous attempts and take the benefit that we can learn from them, because there is a benefit. You've learned something from each attempt that you've had. But here's the thing. We can't let those weigh us down. We cannot let the fear of failure prevent you from being successful, because that weight of failure, that weight of fear, that weight of worry gets really heavy and it gets hard to find success because we're so worried about what is going to happen. One of you said, this has been eating me alive. So I want you to let go of those previous attempts. I want you to out loud say, I failed my NCLEX and it's okay because I'm going to do better the next time. It is okay, guys. I have never, as a nurse, heard a patient ask me, Rachel, how many times did you take the NCLEX? No one's ever asked me that. No one's ever asked another nurse I've worked with that. They care that you are compassionate. They care that you listen to their needs. The number of NCLEX attempts that you need does not define the type of nurse you're going to be. The number of NCLEX attempts that you need does not define who you are as a human being. Do not let that weigh you down. Please, please, please do not let the fact that you needed to repeat this exam make you feel less than anybody else. Do not let it make you feel inferior, because you are still worthy of this and you still deserve this. So what I want us to do together, because a lot of you are saying yes, but some of you said no, which I'm really glad, because it is something that you sometimes have to grieve for a little bit. It sometimes takes a little bit of time. So we're going to do a mindset reset together. So I want us to take a few deep breaths. We're just going to close our eyes. I want you to do this with me in your own home. I'll be the one looking goofy in front of all of you. I want you to close your eyes, take in a deep breath, and blow it out. Let's do it one more time. Close our eyes, take in that deep breath, kind of tense up your shoulders, and blow it out. It's okay if you weren't successful on your last attempt. I want to make sure that the next attempt goes better. I want to make sure that you do your best and that you put in the work to do your best. And if we can do that, we need to be proud of the progress that we're making. You don't have to know everything from the start. Nursing is complex and your knowledge is going to grow over time. But I want you all to embrace the learning curve. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to seek help when it's needed. Because every experience, whether it is positive, whether it is negative, it's going to contribute to your growth. Nursing school is tough. Passing the NCLEX is tough. But I want you to really view these challenges as an opportunity to show how resilient you can be, to develop that resilience, because these obstacles are making you stronger and they're actually making you more capable as a nurse in the future. Now, with failing the NCLEX, something I want to make sure that I say is self-care is not negotiable. You have to make sure that you're caring for yourself, that you keep, sleeping, that you're eating balanced foods, that you make sure that you're caring for yourself in the process. I've seen a lot of students who struggle after failing the exam, and it's okay to take a week or two to let go of that stress, to grieve that you didn't get the result you were wanting, but then come back stronger. Also, I want you guys to celebrate your achievements, even if it seems so small. If you're using our Q Bank at Archer Review and you get a high on a readiness assessment, I want you to celebrate it. If I could, I would throw confetti for you, but obviously I can't do that, but I would if I could. Celebrate small achievements, because every time you celebrate those small achievements, every time you tell yourself, hey, I've got this, I'm doing better, I'm working in the right direction, it's going to keep building you and building you and building you to your end goal of NCLEX success. It is worth it to celebrate the small things. All right. Do we have any questions at this point? I'm looking at all the chats. I want to see if there's any big questions that I can answer before we move on. We did our mindset reset. And remember that the NCLEX attempts, the number that you need, does not define you. If you have a question, don't raise your hand in Zoom. Just drop it in the Q&A and I can answer it there. Now, somebody's asking about the percentages. You don't know the percent that you scored on the NCLEX. The candidate performance report does not give you that information. You would not have a percentage. I'm guessing that individual was talking about a score in Archer Review. All right, let's move on. If you think of a question, drop it at any time. So my question for you all is, what areas were you below or near passing for your candidate performance report? Do you know which sections you might be struggling with a little bit more than the others? This is important because in general, you're still going to do an overall review. You don't want to not study something for 6 or 12 weeks, but you do want to know where you're weaker in so that you can really prioritize doing focused learning in those topics. So to do focused learning in those topics, you can watch our on-demand videos. We've got worksheets on each of these content areas. We have questions in our Q bank over each of these content areas. Mental health, priority. Okay, some of you guys are saying farm. Farm's a tough one, that's for sure. If you've never gotten a candidate performance report and you have failed your NCLEX and it's been greater than 6 weeks, you need to call your state board of nursing and you need to let them know that you need your candidate performance report. It's going to give you insight to the areas that you are struggling in. Definitely worth doing. Definitely worth doing. Someone asked, what is the highest amount of times you know someone failing? How long did it take them to pass after they graduated? The top I've seen is they passed on their 27th attempt and they had graduated about 26 years prior. That is the max that I have personally seen where they were successful. All right. So it looks like you guys know the areas that you're struggling with, whether it's analyzing cues or safety and infection control. That tells you where you want to focus, but you still are going to do well-rounded studying. Now, I've got one more question. Did you struggle with test anxiety or do you now? Do you feel like test anxiety might be part of this? And I ask this because I see that test anxiety is a big part for the repeat test taker. So we are going to talk about it. And the reason why is because someone was saying no before, yes now, yes, couldn't sleep the night before, big yes. Some people have started some therapy. Test anxiety is huge, guys. I told you I still struggle with it. I have struggled with it for like 15 years that I have had test anxiety, forever. I literally can't remember taking a test where I didn't struggle with test anxiety. The difference for me now and what I want to teach you guys over the next few moments is how to make sure that you control your test anxiety instead of it control you. That's the shift. I told you every test I take, I still have it, but the difference now is I can control it. So I do want to make sure that we talk about this. And if you don't struggle with it, that's great. But I would still recommend listening in. And the reason why I would still listen in is because you might experience it for the first time when you go take your exam. So I want you to have the tools to be successful if it happens. So that way you know exactly what to do just in case it occurs. So first of all, test anxiety. As you prepare for the NCLEX, it's really natural to feel the weight of test anxiety. But remember, you've come a long way. You made it through nursing school, which means you are all capable of passing this exam. I really want you to think of every study session as a step closer to your dream of becoming a nurse. And I want you to believe in yourself. This is huge. If you believe in you, it's going to make a huge difference because I believe in you guys. You've worked hard. You have honed your skills in. Trust your abilities. So what happens with test anxiety is it's a performance stressor. It's, I need to do well because of this. I need to do well because of that. And we start to panic of the what if I don't make it? What if I don't reach the goals that I have? What are others going to think about me? And when we build that anxiety and we don't deal with it, it ends up here. And when it's up here, what happens is now our mind goes blank. Now our mind goes blank. And when our mind goes blank, we can't utilize our testing skills that we have. We can't utilize critical thinking, which is so important for the NCLEX exam. So what I really want you to think about is what leads to your test anxiety. It could be that it's timed. It could be perfectionism. That's kind of mine. It could be pressure from others, the fear of failure, that negative mindset, the lack of confidence. I want you to take a moment to think about what causes your test anxiety. Because when it happens, I want you to remember that you've got it. Stay calm, stay focused. And a lot of times, when you can do that, when you can really try to limit that test anxiety and you deal with it and you keep bringing it back down, it's going to make it where you don't get to that area where you're in thought blocking, where your mind goes blank. And the goal is that we avoid that. So one of you said fear of failure. Totally get that. I have struggled with that personally. Some people say I can't even pinpoint it. Absolutely. High stakes, the mindset. The test is the only thing keeping me from my goal. Anxiety of failing again. Have you guys ever wondered if the anxiety is what's holding you back from success? You're letting the worry hold you back from reaching your goal? Good mix of kind of the aspects. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely perfectionism, time check while testing, taking the test for the first time. So some of you are taking it for the first time, but I'm still glad you're here. So let's talk about some preventions. Yeah, anxiety of failing again. It's tough, guys. It is so tough. But I don't want that anxiety to hold you back from the success because you have the capability. I want you to think of test anxiety like the most annoying friend you've ever had, the one that shows up when it's not invited, right? But it keeps you alert, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you on your toes because you never know when it's going to be there. Mild test anxiety is okay. Mild test anxiety actually increases and heightens our awareness. It's once we get to moderate and severe that our mind goes blank and we can no longer recall things that we once knew. So one of the top things that I have seen made a difference in the thousands of students that I've worked with is confidence. And I know that sounds so silly, that mindset and confidence is a game changer, but it is. It makes such a difference. Analyze yourself for a moment. You don't have to put your answers in the comments, but I do want you to analyze yourself. And I want you to think for a moment I want you to think, when my anxiety is high, is my confidence lower? A majority of the time I hear yes. When anxiety is high, confidence is low. Mindset is negative. So we need to change the script. We need to make it where we talk to ourselves positively, that you are smart, you are worthy, and you are capable. Because if you believe truly that you did your best in prep, that you showed up each day and you worked hard, then you deserve to be confident on this exam. And no matter what the result is, you can walk out proud because you know that you did everything you could to prep successfully. You did what you could with what you had, and that's the important part. Build your confidence. Remind yourself every single day that you are capable, you are worthy, and you will make a great nurse one day. I do want to make sure, too, that you adequately study and review. You need to follow a study plan. If you are not yet following a study plan, that is the problem. You need to start one today. Okay. Now, why do I emphasize this so much? Why do I think a study plan is so important? Well, the reason why is because as human beings, we like to do what we're good at. And if we're constantly just doing what we're good at, what happens? We miss the key points. We miss key concepts. So follow a study plan so that you make sure your prep is well-rounded. And know your own personal signs and symptoms that anxiety is building. So what are your signs and symptoms of test anxiety? For me personally, I turn red, like as red as this can of my energy drink. I get bright red, no joke. I get really, really red in the face and I start to get really hot, like I'm sweating, and then I get nervous, and then I start to feel this panic feeling, this, strong feeling of panic. That is how I could explain my test anxiety. And when I get to the point that I feel panicking, I get a little nervous because normally, if I don't deal with it by that point, I'm going to get too high in my anxiety and it's hard for me to come back down. This is why I want you to know your earliest signs and symptoms. And shout out to you Hebo on TikTok just let us know that they passed their NCLEX using Archer Review. That is incredible. Glad to have you here. So some of you are saying sweating. Some of you start to blink out. You get nauseous. You get jittery. You start to cry. When I get really anxious, I'm also a crier sometimes. Kind of interesting. All the emotions. Some people get angry, right? It looks different for everybody. So what I want us to do is I want us to work to combat this test anxiety. Now, if your test anxiety is really high and you're like, I'd struggle with this every day, you need to reach out to your primary care provider. Like, if this is not enough, I want you to go please see your primary care provider because you may need to. But try these methods, see if they can help you. So the first thing is combating test anxiety, and this starts today. If you don't start these methods until test day, you're not going to be very good at implementing them. You need to start them now. This is why I recommend taking CAT exams and readiness assessments at a coffee shop, somewhere different than your normal location. And the reason why I say that is because it's going to help stimulate some of that test anxiety. And when you make that simulation experience very similar to what it's going to be like when you go take the NCLEX, you can work on how to deal with this test anxiety that you may experience. So the first thing we do is we adequately prepare. Now, Archer Review, we are a one-stop shop. Everything you need, you can get from Archer Review. And why am I so confident in saying that? Because if you follow our SurePass package, you get 4 highs or very highs consecutively. The pass rate for first-time test takers is over 99%. The reason I'm so confident and willing to say that is not because I work for them. I work for them because I know they work for you. I know the product that we have created works for students. I've seen so many students find success with it, and I know that it can help you guys as well. So follow our study plans. And if you feel lost or you're like, hey, Rachel, I actually test in 20 days and I need a custom study plan, that's when you're going to book private tutoring. And I'll show you where to find that at the end of the session. I want you to do mock exams. The goal is 4 highs or very highs consecutively on readiness assessments. If you reach that goal, if you get those 4 highs or very highs consecutively, you deserve to be confident going into that exam. I also recommend get through the Q bank because if you're gonna do it right. Don't put half effort in. I don't want a nurse that puts half effort in. I want a nurse that gives it their all. I want a nurse that gives it 100%. Now, you might already be like, Rachel, I'm giving it 100%. I don't know what else to do different. Then we have to look at how you're doing it, what you're doing, and then we'll have to tweak that a little bit, and that's okay. Now, the next thing is seek support. Guys, anyone ever struggle with saying, hey, I need some help? Anyone ever struggle with that? I'm the worst. I'm the worst at admitting when I need help. I basically wrote some of these slides because I know it's a personal struggle and I've seen a lot of students struggle with it. Anyone feel like it's really hard to ask for help? I absolutely hate doing it, but please ask for help when you need it, whether it's from a friend, whether it's from an old instructor, whether you email us at NCLEX Tutors, ask for help when you need it. It is not something to be embarrassed about. It is okay to need help from time to time. I know I've need help sometimes, and that's okay. You can also look into Archer Review private tutoring as well as small group tutoring. It makes a huge difference. Our private tutoring numbers are really high right now, and I think a big reason why is because we offer that support. We cheer you on every step of the way. Now, during the exam, what are you going to do? And this actually does start before the exam. Positive self-talk. Anyone ever get like 3 in a row that you're not sure the answer, and then you start to have this moment of like, I don't know that I'm going to pass this. I didn't know the last 3. I'm freaking out right now. I don't know that I'm smart enough to do this. I don't know that I'm capable of doing this. Anyone ever have that thought process before? It takes me back to my first A&P quiz I took in nursing school. Got a 40% on it. And you know why I did so bad? You know why I failed my first A&P test of nursing school? Because of negative self-talk. I kept telling myself I couldn't do it. And because I kept voicing that to myself, guess what? I couldn't do it. But when I changed that mindset to, you know what, I studied really hard for this exam and I'm going to go do my best on it. Oh man, did my grades change. I went from my first quiz of getting a 40%, had a failing grade my first week of college where I was taking A and P, to acing the next exam. And the big difference wasn't that I studied a whole lot different. The big difference was that I changed how I talked to myself. I told myself I could do this. I told myself I was capable. I told myself that I was worthy of this because I had worked hard. The next thing is deep breathing. And I know I sound so goofy recommending deep breathing, but the reason why deep breathing helps is when you take that nice big deep breath, it puts pressure on the vagus nerve. And when you put pressure on the vagus nerve, it's going to remove you from your fight or flight. And when you get removed from your fight or flight, guess what? You can now critically think again, which is huge. Now, the next thing is releasing your tension. Anyone ever have a really stressful day, whether at work, at clinical, and the back of your shoulders and neck hurt just horribly? It's because we like to hold our anxiety there. So instead, what I want you to do is I want you to tense up those shoulders. I know I look so goofy like this, and then relax them out. Because if you do that, it's going to help let go of that some anxiety. You can also use our 3-2-1 rule. What that is basically 3 things that you see, 2 things that you can touch, and 1 thing that you hear. Or you can do 2 things that you hear, 1 thing that you touch. It doesn't really matter. The focus is that you use the senses to kind of re-ground you back into the exam, back into what you're doing. Make sure you're focused on that test. And when anxiety happens, deal with it. Don't let it build, because when you're up here, it's really hard to break that anxiety. But if I deal with it when it's down here, it's going to go here, and then it comes up again, and I can keep it at bay because I'm dealing with it. I feel like society, at least where I live in the US, it's like, oh, just push through it. You're going to be fine. I don't believe that, especially for test anxiety. I believe deal with it when it happens so that we can prevent it from getting up here. We're going to deal with it when it's down here at a point that is manageable. Now, how to use Archer Review successfully. Because I can give you all of the right tools, but if they're not used correctly, you can't build the house. So you have to use the tools successfully. You have to use the tools the right way. When you go through rationales, do you just say, oh, okay, and move on to the next? Or do you ask yourself, what can I learn from this rationale? What knowledge can I get? Why was this right? And why were these wrong? And could I verbalize that to somebody? Make sure you understand the why. The other thing is I could watch Morgan's videos, and don't get me wrong, there's a spot for passive learning. There is times for that, right? I've got kids at home. When I was in nursing school, I used to cook dinner with headphones in, listening to lectures. So I get it. There is a time for passive learning, but that can't be all of your learning. So if I'm sitting and I'm listening to Morgan and I'm like on my phone, scrolling on Instagram and listening to a lecture, do you think I'm going to learn from that? Do you think I'm going to get benefit from that? No. What I need to do is I need to pause and reflect after each section. I need to be doing concept maps and diagramming things out and taking notes, shorthand notes. Don't write a million things down. Write the key points, the big things. If you watch a topic and you cannot then explain it to somebody else, you did not study successfully. You need to make sure that you can watch the concept, understand it, and be able to explain it. If you can't explain it, you don't have the concept down, and you should not move on. The other big thing that I see students do is actually overstudy. You're probably thinking, what? Didn't you just tell us we needed to study? Yes, I want you consistently studying. But what I don't want you doing is studying 10 hours a day. Because let me tell you, I can't do that. You guys aren't going to be able to do that. What I want you to do is take frequent breaks, but also assess, am I getting benefit from this study session? If you're at the point that you are not getting any benefit, stop for the day and come back tomorrow. I know me personally, what I like to do is 2-hour increments, but every 45 minutes, I take a 15-minute break And I liked to do 2-hour increments. I know my times are going to sound crazy. You don't need to do these times. I would always do 4 to 6 a.m. and then I would do 8 to 10 p.m. Now, why did I do such weird times in nursing school? Why do I do such weird times now? Because I have a family to go around. I have a job to go around. I've got other activities I need to go around. And sometimes it takes sacrifice, but that's okay. Find what works for you. And what works for me and what works for Jennifer and what works for all of you joining is going to look different. And that's okay. It doesn't have to look the same. Find what works well for you as an individual and as your family. What works for you and your family? So what other study tools can help you be successful? Really, what I want you to think of is, how do you learn best? Because if you try to learn how I learn, it's not going to be successful, because we're all different individuals. We all have different ways that we learn, and we have ways that don't work for us. I know me personally, if I try to read a textbook, I will be able to tell you nothing because I can't learn that way. I had a head injury when I was in high school, and ever since that head injury, I can't read in my head. I have to read out loud, and it takes me forever. So what I want you guys to do is to really make sure that you're studying in a way that's beneficial. And if it's not, try something different. The other thing is farm. Students always hate farm. I did too. I like it now, but I did as a student. When I was in your all shoes, I was not a farm fan. I want you to add in 10 to 15 minutes of farm every day. Farm, you cannot just memorize it all. You have to work to understand it. So what I recommend is do 15 minutes a day, pair whatever meds that you want to review that day with the subject that you're learning. It's going to make it easier. If you study and you learn 2 medications a day over a 12-week study plan, imagine where you're going to be at the end of the 12 weeks. Imagine how many meds you're going to know. I would rather you understand 60% of the meds you might see on the NCLEX really, really well than kind of barely know it all. Because you're going to know what makes sense and what doesn't in the question if you're confident in the knowledge you have. But if you're like, I don't know about that, you're not going to be confident in that knowledge base. Now, somebody said, how many practice questions a day on Archer should we do? We've got that all in our study plan that you can find under study calendars. We have it all listed out. It depends if you're doing the 6 or the 12-week plan. We recommend a different number of questions each day. And then the last thing I want you guys to do, you don't have to do this every day. You could do this once a week. I want you to write a most dreaded concept list. So if I were to think of mine when I was in nursing school, I would have said endocrine, farm. It's kind of all the topics I like to teach now are the ones I really hated in school. But I would write down the concepts that I would struggle with, and I would take 3 to 5 minutes to make sure to review those key concepts. Because guess what? By next week, you're going to be fine with them because you've spent time, you've diligently worked through those concepts, and now they're no longer going to be on your most dreaded concepts list. And you just keep doing that until now you're like, hey, I've got this. I've got this down. Let me go back here. This is how to get the most out of concept maps. What I really suggest with them is handwrite them. Only make a couple a week on the topics that you really struggle with, and make sure that they're organized to where you understand them and they're color coded. If concept maps don't work for you, that's okay. Don't do them. But if they do, make sure that you can follow them. I found them super helpful, but I'm going to be honest, they took me several hours to complete. So I only did it over the concepts that I struggled with the most. All right, so I'm curious to hear, how can you improve your study habits? What are some things you guys want to try different this time? What are some things you feel like you maybe need to do this time to help you be successful? Let me know in Slido. What are we going to change this time? How do we make sure that this next attempt looks different? What are we going to do? What are we thinking? I know for me, what I most commonly see in students is swapping passive learning for active. The other thing I see is being consistent. Being consistent. Yeah, I can show you an example in a moment of a concept map. Positive attitude. Reviewing questions you missed on your off days. That's wonderful. We've got that review tab added. Prepare and study better. So I get what you're saying. Ask yourself how. How am I going to do it better this time? What change am I going to make? Being consistent is huge. I cannot tell you how important consistency is. I want you to think about going to the gym. This is something people easily relate to. If I go to the gym once every few weeks, once a month, am I going to get stronger? Especially, let's say I go to the gym that once a month and I do it for 8 hours. Is that going to help me get stronger? Or am I better off to go for 1 hour, 5 days a week and consistently show up and do better, even on the bad days if I'm still going? I'm going to get better, right? It's the same thing with studying for the NCLEX. Even on the tough days, even on the days that you're like, I want to do nothing else, I don't want to study, show up for yourself, do something, even if it's something small. Okay. It doesn't have to be a huge thing that you do something small, answer 15 questions, but show up anyway, because if you continuously show up, it's going to make a difference. All right. Someone asked to see a study or a concept map example. Here's like a quick one. It's basically your central idea goes in the middle and you just branch from it and you start to connect all these ideas. It really helps with clinical judgment because clinical judgment really relies on your ability to connect ideas. Now, somebody said, I procrastinate. I'm burnt out from reading. Don't read. I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time reading when I do, studying tools. I would listen to lectures. I would read rationales. That is something I would do. I would read rationales, but don't read a textbook. You don't have to read a bunch of slides. You don't need to do that. You can do it what works for you, and that's okay. Procrastination can be our worst enemy. We want to make sure that we avoid that if possible. So, study plan ideas. Our number one package for the repeat test taker is intense prep. I'm also going to tell you, intense prep has been filling through the roof. We have typically a couple weeks, you're a couple weeks out. So if you're interested in intense prep, you're usually wanting to think of it now because the next start date, I believe, is just a few weeks out. But we've been filling up. Intense prep has been an awesome resource. And the reason why is because it offers so many things to students. Really, when you think about intense prep, it's going to offer a really structured schedule. It is going to offer Monday and Wednesday small groups. Mondays are small groups that are focused on content, where Wednesdays are feedback sessions. So if you want someone to very closely monitor you, this would be the route to go. Off the top of my head, I want to say that it's $399 for intense prep. It does have a larger cost. And the reason why is because you're watched by a tutor throughout the entire 6 weeks. But I can show you at the end. I think I'm right on that cost, but I might be off. Jennifer might have to answer that one to make sure I'm right on the cost of it. But it includes our Q Bank. You're getting Monday through Friday live lectures. You're getting all of our on-demand videos. It really does come with a lot. And if you're like, Rachel, intense prep is out of my budget, it is not for me. I've seen lots of people be successful with the SurePass combo. Absolutely. I think the SurePass combo would be a great one for you to utilize. Now, I'm going to show you a glance at these study plans, which you can find right in your dashboard. I'll show you those in a moment. But here is an example of the 6-week plan. I really recommend this one for first-time test takers. It's going to go through things a little quicker. If you've got more time to spend, the 6-week plan is for you. But what I typically recommend, what I would prefer that you do is the 12-week plan. Because if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's give ourselves more time to fully grasp and understand these concepts. If you have a busier schedule, if you were like me, maybe had a kiddo in nursing school, or maybe you work several jobs, whatever it is, the 12-week plan is going to give you more time. It's a little less intense every day. And it's going to outline for you what to do every single day, so you don't have to question what you need to do. So I'm going to go ahead, give me just one moment to get another screen pulled up here. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what that study plan looks like. Let me get logged in and I'll pull that up so you can see exactly where to find it in your dashboard. If you have any Archer Review product, you'll be able to see the study calendar. Okay. Everyone's still seeing my screen, making sure everyone's still seeing it. Looks like everyone's good. So what you'll do is you'll go on over to your dashboard. When you're in the dashboard, you're going to scroll down to study calendars. Here's where you're going to see the 3, 6, and 12-week plans. So I want you to go ahead and choose either the 6 or the 12. I really don't recommend the 3. It's only for people who have just graduated and they've already done NCLEX prep through their college. It's the only time I recommend the 3, and I still prefer the 6. And I wrote these plans. So I would really advocate 6 and 12. That's going to be well-rounded and encompass everything. So I would typically say the 12-week for most repeat test takers. If you're using SurePass for intense prep, your plan is going to be totally different. It comes in your ebook. Looks like several people let us know they passed. Robbie on Facebook, kudos to you. Congrats, congrats. So glad to hear that Archer Review is part of your journey. If I missed anyone else, kudos to you as well. All right. So that's where you're going to find that plan. You'll open it up and it'll have exactly what you should do each and every day. So what are you thinking you want to use as a study plan? Are we going to utilize the 6, the 12? Maybe you're doing something totally different. That's okay. Let me know what your plan is. I know that some of you are like, what, 12 weeks studying? Let me tell you, I have had too many students come to me and they say, Rachel, why didn't I do it right last time? Why did I not put the time in last time? The reason why it's important to put the time in now is if you're not successful, you have to wait 45 days. You have to pay all the money again to take it again. And it's really hard. It's hard to fail the exam. It can be a huge confidence decreaser, really. And I don't want that to happen to you. Now, if it has happened, and that's partly why you didn't spend enough time prepping, I don't want you to feel bad about it. I don't want you to stress about it now because we can't change the past, but we can change what we do now. We can change it and make sure that our next attempt is our last attempt because we put in the prep now. We change things up now. If you don't know exactly, if you're like, hey, I'm not sure, maybe reach out to NCLEX tutors at archerreview.com. Not sure what part you're confused on. I'm guessing you maybe missed like the first full half of the lecture or part of the lecture. And if you miss some of it, you might be a little lost. So if that happened, just reach out to us, NCLEX tutors at archerreview.com, and we can help you on that. Or you can go ahead and drop your question in any of the question boxes. If you're in Zoom, the Q&A or the chats on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and we can answer that question there. The cost of private tutoring is $75 per hour. So I'm seeing a lot of people asking about tutoring. So let me just go ahead and show you how to do that. So what you would do is you would go to Archer Review Tutors. And you can go ahead and find Archer Review. You know it's us because it's going to be our logo. Scroll down and you can see all of our tutors. Make sure you're on NCLEX. So private tutors, NCLEX. But then you can scroll down and you can see what's available. So Lauren is sold out for tonight. On Thursday, there are 3 seats left in Shelly's 2-hour NCLEX review. Elizabeth has 4 seats left in management of care. Jennifer has a 1-to-1 and Lauren has a 1-to-1 open. So let's say I wanted to do a combo of these. I wanted that 1-to-1 with Lauren and I wanted Shelly's 2-hour NCLEX review. When I book 3 or more sessions, guess what? I save 10%. When I book 5 or more sessions, I'm going to end up saving 15%. And at 10 sessions, you save 20%. So there, you can save a lot of money in tutoring if you book and look at the whole month of what you want to purchase. Now, somebody asks, hey, I purchased SurePass. When's the best time to do the 3-day live review? I always say right before you're going to go take your NCLEX. Now, not like right before is like the 3 days before. Typically, I recommend 1 to 2 weeks before. You have finished the study plan, you do the 3-week or the 3-day, live review, and then you go test 1 to 2 weeks later. That is like my favorite way to have students do it. I see students are more successful when they kind of do it that route. All right. So how can we be confident that this attempt is going to be different, right? That's something you guys kept saying. Hey, I'm worried it's going to happen again. I'm worried I might fail again. I'm worried I'm not going to get the result I'm looking for again. So I want you to ask yourself, what are you going to do different this time? Accountability and consistency are the most important things you can do to be successful. So that's going to be the most important thing. The other thing is stay motivated. This is tough. It can be really hard at times. And the goal here is that you stay motivated. And that's easier said than done. So on the days that you are like, oh, I do not want to do this today, Rachel. This is too much. This is too much time. This is too stressful. I'm burnt. Because I get it. I felt burnt in things in my life. I want you to ask yourself why. Why did you go to nursing school? Why do you want to be a nurse? And if your why is like, yes, I want this. Yes, my goal is to be a nurse, then keep pushing. Work through those moments where you want to procrastinate. Work through those moments that you're like, I don't really want to do this. Because if we can push through, guess what? You're only 12 weeks away. Can you imagine if, let's say you're doing the 12-week plan, if by the end of the year, you have those licensure letters behind your name of RN or PN, whatever you're testing for? Doesn't that sound really rewarding? By the end of the year, you could reach your goal of passing the exam. But that means hard work. That means doing it different this time. But remember your why. And on the hard days, because they're going to happen, and we've acknowledged that, do something. Do a podcast. There's pod pulses on that you can find. There are notes that you could go through. You could go through practice questions. You could go through flashcards. The pod pulses are on what's called Pulsed In. There's tons of different things on there. So you've got lots and lots of options. Now, if you need help from a tutor, here's another booking link to show you. I know I showed you guys already how to see the whole thing and how to find it. Small group tutoring is cheaper. I know some of you have brought up that finances is a little challenging. Small group tutoring is $25 per hour. So it does come at a lower cost. You can have up to 20 individuals in a small group session, but normally they are smaller than that. But it does give you that that time with a tutor to ask your questions in a smaller setting. Now, somebody asked, what is SurePass like? What does SurePass include? SurePass is actually going to have kind of everything in it. I love the SurePass package. It's the one that I recommend most often. Intense Prep is a little more specific to the repeat test taker, but SurePass is one of my favorites. And the reason why is it's going to include our QBank, which has 2,800 practice questions for the RN. Over 800 of those are next-gen NCLEX style questions. It's going to include our on-demand videos. We've got over 100 different hours of on-demand video recording. It includes our 3-day live review, which is the first Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of each month. You get to choose which one you attend. That comes with an interactive workbook that you get to type in right on your computer or your iPad, whatever you have, as we're working through it. Students have been loving the workbook. It's been a ton of fun. And it includes Monday through Friday live lectures. Monday, Wednesday, Friday are live case studies, and Tuesday, Thursdays are 3-hour live content lectures. So you really kind of get it all with the SurePass package, and it's why I recommend it so often. The SurePass package is a lot more affordable than Intense Prep. So that's why I do recommend it often, especially if finances is a reason for Intense Prep. Now, if you're like, I have SurePass, but I want to upgrade to Intense Prep, you would want to email support@archerreview.com. They would let you know that cost difference. So what questions can I answer for you? What questions do we have? What things can I answer for you? Let me know what questions you have. Anything, any questions at all? Let me know. Let me know. Slido.com, still the same Slido code of comebacks. You guys still able to hear me? Okay, I had someone say they couldn't hear me. Hopefully you can still hear my audio. Let me know if you if you can't hear it for some reason. Is Archer review enough for me to pass the NCLEX? I can confidently say, if used correctly, absolutely. Absolutely, when used correctly. Just like I said earlier, I can give you the tools, but if you use the wrong tools, you can't build the house. Same thing. I can give you the tools. If used correctly, you can definitely pass this exam. But again, you have to use it correctly. And there are outside influences like test anxiety, like there's so many different things, but I do want you walking into that exam confident. If you get through our Q bank, you've gotten 4 highs or very highs consecutively, you should be very confident in taking your exam. In private tutoring, you cover whatever you want. It is all about you. It is exactly what you want it to be. And however you want it to look, that's going to be private tutoring. Small group tutoring is a set topic, so that does look different. If you need an extension or anything like that, you can either do it from your dashboard or you can email support@archerreview.com. What month do you encourage most that we write NCLEX? There's not like a specific month. It's that you've completed a study plan. And if you've got SurePass, you've attended the 3-day live review, you've gotten 4 highs or very highs consecutively, then schedule. But if you're doing like the 12-week plan and you start it today, you could test by the end of the year. You could do this by the end of the year if you wanted. And that's pretty incredible. We do not have any discount codes for SurePass. Yeah, if your SurePass expired, you can still book tutoring. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, if you've got the combo and you have your exam in a week, yeah, sure, absolutely, that can help you. If you're struggling with the easy questions, you need to go back to your foundational knowledge. A lot of times as adult learners, we like to say, hey, I know it. And in reality, we don't, especially on the easy things. Go back, make sure you reassess your basic knowledge. Maybe there's an error in that, fix it. What does private tutoring actually do for me? I like this question. It's a good one. Why students book private tutoring? Why we typically see students be repeat tutor or students for private tutoring is because private tutoring can do a lot for an individual. It really depends the route that you want it to go. But if you're not sure if you're ready to take the NCLEX exam, if you should schedule or not, or if you're ready or need to move your test date, the tutor can analyze your scores and they can tell you and give you their professional opinion. It can help boost confidence. It can work through test anxiety. They can give you a customized study plan. It looks different for everybody, but most of the time what I'm seeing in reviews is that students felt heard, they felt encouraged, and they knew what to do next. And that's why they liked private tutoring so much. A lot of times our tutors get kudos and shout outs from students and they give them a, hey, I couldn't have done this without you. So that's our goal as private tutors, is to really help each student feel heard, to help each student feel supported. That way you feel confident walking into your exam. Fortunately, we don't have any discount codes. I don't have any discount codes. And then how to book the 3-day live. So if you have SurePass, you're just going to go right in. Let me just show you. That'll make it easier. Let me pull up. So what you would do for SurePass, we're going to end here in just a minute. Let me change my screen share here. Okay. So what you would do is you are going to go ahead and you're going to go to your dashboard. And then you're going to go down to SurePass and you're going to go to SurePass Live Review. And you're going to go ahead and sign up. When you buy SurePass, you get a free $50 credit. If you've already used that, or maybe you don't have it, then you can just click the $50 buy now, and that will add you into whatever live review you're wanting. We've got October, November, and December listed through the end of the year. And then if you don't have that, you can go down to webinars, and you could also buy it down here in webinars for whichever one you are wanting. Here's the one here. Now, if you buy the $50 live only, it doesn't come with the recording unless you have SurePass. So that is how you would get the recording, is you do have to have SurePass if you want the recording for that live review. All right. What other questions do we have? Anything else? If you need to change your date for a 3-day review, then go ahead and email support@archerreview.com. They can help you. Someone asked, do we have a private tutor for dosage calc? We do. His name is Brandon Kraft. So I showed you guys to go to NCLEX tutoring. I want you to go to nursing school tutoring. Brandon is actually a math instructor that we brought on. He runs our T's division. Amazing. If I could learn math from somebody, he's the guy I want to learn math from. He also has a little bit of a Southern accent, so it's kind of fun. He is who I would recommend. He is amazing for dosage calc. All right, that looks like that is all of our questions that I saw come through. Hopefully I answered everything. If something didn't get answered that you were wanting to get answered, you can always email us at nclextutors@archerreview.com. What schedule do you recommend if it's your first time? Typically the 6-week. If you're a first time test taker and have the time, 6-week. And then I already bought intense prep. Do I still do private tutoring? You don't need to. It's only there as an extra resource if you feel like you would benefit from it. But absolutely, nursing school. Have you guys seen nursing school? Anyone want a little sneak peek? Because nursing school is totally free right now. Anyone seen nursing school? Oh, somebody just said, hey, can I use this for nursing school? I've got something better for you for nursing school. I'm so glad you asked. All right, guys, I told you I was done, but I'm really not. I'm sorry. I got to show you one more thing. If you need to leave, that's totally fine. But if you go over, let me get my screen pulled up here. If you go to Archer Review, I can't believe I didn't tell you guys this. You can go to nursing school. Everything is free right now. All of this is free. So you definitely want to do this. If you're in nursing school, go get these courses. You can add all of these courses to your cart. So if you scroll down, you'll click buy now. They're totally free. I already purchased them. So once you've bought them, you can go to your dashboard. You will go to unactivated courses, activate the courses that you want to study, and all of these are free right now. So it is pretty awesome. I definitely recommend it. We've got Archer Review for nursing school. We want your feedback. It's free through the end of the year, so I would get it now while it's free if you're in nursing school. So this is specific to nursing students. That's free, but it is an awesome resource. All right, guys, that brings me to the end of my time. I totally went over. I'm sorry. I kept you a couple minutes extra. Archer Review is here to support you. We are more than just test prep. Together, I want to see you guys turn your setbacks into comebacks, doubts into determination, and dreams into reality. I hope we get to work together to help you guys find NCLEX success. Thanks for being here. Thanks for choosing Archer Review as a small part of your NCLEX journey. Bye, everybody. If you need anything else, email us at nclextutors@archerreview.com. Thanks for hanging out.